sought the injunction and chose not to accept that decision, they created a perception of, in our mind, disrespect for officials, an invitation to public disorder, and, in our opinion, the circumstances that existed then would have made it inappropriate for the officials in that context to have undertaken to officiate that game.
Well, I don't believe it's one particular incident. I think the safety and security of the officials has been questioned by us in certain situations previously, and it has escalated to this point. There is a lot of concern as far as security and who can get at us, and certainly the disrespect for the official.
Joining us now from Toronto, former National Hockey League referee Bruce Hood, who during his time was one of the most well-respected referees in the league. I take you back to a situation several years ago in Toronto. The Philadelphia Flyers against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hockey Night in Canada had put microphones behind the bench, and I see you smiling, so I know you recall it, and they go to Bobby Clark, obvious abuse of an official. How much of this do you guys take, and where do you draw the line?
Well, John, let me go back about 20 years, because we formed an association in 1969 because of abusive officials. Here we are, the wheels come around. Not a lot has changed. There's just far too much of it takes place.
Bruce, the fact that Dave Newell was the head, or is the head of the Officials Association, you think that had anything to do with the walkout? If there'd been a referee, say Bill McCreary, with less experience, would they have still walked?
Well, I think so, because that sport has got to be there. And one thing, when we formed the association, we didn't have 100% support. Now they do. Everybody that's come on the staff over those 20 years is automatically a part of the association, supports it, and is there, and I don't care who was there, they would have gotten that advice.
Bruce, back in 1985, Jim Schoenfeld, who was then with the Buffalo Sabres, was involved in another incident. He threw a water bottle at then referee Terry Gregson. Do the officials remember things like this? What Don Cherry was alluding to, in other words, that you're going to pay for something that you do to an official. Does this stick around and come back to haunt a player or a coach?
There's no way. Listen, you can't be out on that ice making split-second decisions based on what happened at a game 3 or 4 days down the road. You've got to call it based on its merits. It might come down to a personality conflict between a general manager, a coach, and a referee, but he's still got a job to do. He's a professional, and let me tell you, if he went out there with that attitude, he's certainly not going to last very long.
Grudges can be held for a long time, and Don Cherry says that the Devils are going to pay and pay and pay. Do you still feel that maybe in the back of the minds of every official this incident will linger during games or even down the road during other games next year?
Oh, I don't think so. I think Don Cherry's blowing smoke and that type of thing. You hear other people saying that. You hear the coaches and general managers that do a lot of complaining in the league, they believe that, but I think it's a pipe dream. Guys have got a job to do, and they do it to the best of their ability. There's no way, there just cannot be carryovers.
One other question, Bruce, and quickly on this one. Did the National Hockey League make a farce of last night's game by allowing amateur officials to referee a very important game like that?
Well, listen, what else could they do in that circumstance? John McCauley was left holding the bag, and I guess time will tell whether it was a farce.
Okay, Bruce Hood, thank you very much. Enjoy your retirement from the National Hockey League. Thank you again for joining us.
As far as tonight's game is concerned with this situation, the officials will be at the game. It is Game 4 of the Campbell Conference Finals in Detroit. The Oilers hold a 2-1 lead. Those associated with these two teams responded to last night's controversy.
It didn't look good. Mind you, the person that officiated didn't do a bad job. But when you're accustomed to see the Van Hellemans and the Frasers and company and the Morels, there was a loss there last night. There's no question.
If the league makes a ruling, somebody has to be in control of these 21 hockey teams, and I think that John Ziegler's staff is in a position to make a ruling, and whatever they decide, whether we agree with it or disagree with it, that's not the point. You need to have somebody in a position of leadership, and I think that we as member teams have to follow their decision, and we have to honor it. And it's just not a very smart circumstance to be bringing the courts involved in something like hockey.
They won't have to worry about that tonight in Detroit. The officials will be there. as will our Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement, who join us now. And gentlemen, I have to ask you this off the top. There is a lot made of the fact that this will affect the players in tonight's game. Do you think with a couple of wins left before they reach a Stanley Cup final, this really affects the players on either side at all?
Let me take that? Sure. I'm assuming we're talking about tomorrow night's game and not tonight's game, right, with the Bruins and the Devils. I think if it affects anybody positively, it will be the Devils. Remember, they are the Cinderella team. Nobody expected them to get this far, and I think they will be able to parlay this whole hullabaloo into some kind of an incentive. I also think that short term, if it's going to hurt somebody, it'll be the Bruins. It can only be disruptive to them. They were cruising along, having themselves a great playoff year. This is only disruptive to the Bruins, and they are really spectators that I think could possibly be hurt by it.
You talked about the short-term impact on the Bruins. What about the short-term and long-term impact on the officials, especially since their contract expires this year?
Well, that's why are now in the spotlight. Normally they are, but the spotlight has intensified now because they've been a party of a very chaotic thing that I think everyone agrees has been harmful to hockey. If you love hockey, this embarrasses you. If you don't like hockey and you're sarcastic about it, whether you're in the media or whether you're a fan, you've become even more sarcastic about it. These guys have wound up more in the spotlight. The spotlight shines brighter on Kerry Fraser, on the other officials that are operating in the NHL the rest of the way, not to mention guys that are working in the American League and International League in their playoff games and are also a member of the association.
Right. They have to be real careful now.
Bill Clement, let me ask you, as a player out there, if you were in a situation like this and you have amateur officials who come on the ice, seemed to me as if the players really policed themselves last night better than they would under the circumstances of having the regular officials out there.
Yeah, I think you got to give the players a little bit of credit. There are a lot of sane people out there, in spite of the fact that everybody thinks hockey players are insane the way they play the game. When it comes right down to it and they have to assume a certain amount of responsibility, I like to think that they do, and I like to think that they did. I also have a feeling that those officials last night didn't control the outcome of the game. Sean Burke controlled the outcome of the game more than the officials did.
Do you think there will be any impact at all on tonight's game, considering this controversy is still brewing?
No, I don't think so, Kerry. I think that the spotlight, as I said, will shine brighter, but I really doubt that there'll be any long-term effect. Kerry Fraser had expected to work this game tonight. So had Leon Stickle, and so had Kevin Collins. They're in here. They're ready to work.
Can I just add that concerning what Bruce Hood said about possible repercussions that could come back to affect the New Jersey Devils in the years to come? They have not only alienated the National Hockey League, they have alienated the officials. And I think that if the officials don't do well in their bargaining agreement this summer and get the respect, we're going to hear that term. The officials never feel as if they have never gotten the respect that they deserve. Should they not get the respect and the power in their deal to protect themselves, I think that New Jersey might actually feel it for a couple of years to come. But if the officials are taken care of and the owners say, we are going to give you the backing and the power to do certain things that you've always wanted, then it might be okay for the Devils. But if that doesn't happen...
Excuse me, Bill, you just turned the clock back, too. Mention has been made of some past instances. In 1983, Ron Foyt, a linesman working at Chicago Stadium, was flipped by Tom Lysiak of the Blackhawks. Lysiak got a 20-game suspension, but you can document it statistically. As much as they say, yeah, we're still going to call it down the line on the Blackhawks, they wound up being penalized far more than they had previously. And also the 5-on-3s against. That extra man disadvantage is the one where you can really sock it to a team. They wound up with an awful lot of 5-on-3s against and not too many 4. Those are statistics that you can use to support it.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. I think most people agree with you and not Bruce Hood that this, in fact, could come back and haunt the New Jersey Devils. The bottom line here is the National Hockey League, already a favorite target of the media, finds itself in another embarrassing situation. Ironically, the NHL, always criticized for acting too slowly in disciplinary situations, may have acted too quickly this time. The league would have avoided the officials' walkout had a hearing been scheduled before Jim Schoenfeld was suspended.
We've got plenty more coming your way here on Sports Center when John and I return. More on the NHL and also action from the Major Leagues. More on Tommy Helms and the Pete Rose incident.
Yes, who is calling the shots for the Cincinnati Reds? We'll find out.
Following this. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to ESPN's Road to the Cup, night number 27. Those comments you just saw at the opening of our program this evening capsulized maybe one of the most confusing days and nights in NHL Stanley Cup history, to be known hereafter as the Mother's Day walkout by the assigned officials of the National Hockey League. Now, later on, between our first and second periods tonight in our first intermission, we'll recap all the action that took place, chronologically yesterday, from yesterday afternoon through late last night, and also update you on what we know about the situation. Before we go to Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement in Detroit tonight, let us tell you now that the NHL has rescinded, for now, its suspension of New Jersey Devil coach Jim Schoenfeld. There will be a full hearing with all parties present tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock Eastern Time in Boston, Massachusetts. So the fate of Jim Schoenfeld for tomorrow's 5th game of the series in Boston is still up in the air. We also know that the assigned NHL officials tonight will be working game number 4 of the Campbell Conference Finals between the Detroit Red Wings and the Edmonton Oilers. And that game is coming to you next on ESPN's Road to the Cup. Let's go live now to a sold-out Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement, thank goodness it appears we have a good old-fashioned hockey game to talk about tonight.
Absolutely. We can turn our attention away from that at least until 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And, Bill, a lot of the fans have been coming up and asking us, do we get the regular officials tonight? And the answer is yes. And, of course, they always get number 99 when the Oilers are in, Wayne Gretzky.
I don't think this series will ever equal the Devils' Boston series for sparks flying, but I think this will be the most physical game in this series. Wayne Gretzky is the man the Red Wings have to control. How do they do that? Well, I think the Red Wings are going to try and take him out physically tonight, body him a lot all night. If they do that, I think they will face retaliation.
And when it comes to retaliation, then you would think, Bill, that the Edmonton Oilers might be focusing on a man who's playing hurt anyway, Steve Yzerman?
Exactly. The Red Wings had a big gasp the other night the first time Yzerman got hit because of his bad knee, but they didn't mind the Oilers hitting him until Jeff Cordnell, in the Red Wings' minds, hit Yzerman dirty, hit him low, so watch out tonight for sparks out there.
Let's add up the check marks tonight. Who gets the edge?
The Red Wings are on the rise. I don't think there's any question about it. But offensively, Yzerman's not completely healthy, so we have to give it to the Oilers. Defensively, Charlie Huddy, who's been playing very well, is out of the lineup. The Oilers have had to juggle, so the Red Wings get the defensive check. Power play, the Oilers still have too many gunners. Penalty killing, the Red Wings have come a long way in spite of the fact they had 2 goals scored on them the other night. I like what the Red Wings are doing, so that's a push. The intangibles, once again, Joe Louis Arena. The Red Wings love playing her, so that's 3 check marks apiece. This series is evening out more and more.
The Red Wings have just come out on the ice, and this building has literally shaken, Tom. That's the type of night we've got ahead of us.
All right, if it's shaking, then you better get back to the broadcast booth. They have seatbelts there for you. Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement. Should be a great game tonight, game 4 of the Campbell Conference Finals. But up front tonight on our Stanley Cup front page, of course, that Mother's Day walkout by the officials will be the subject of a hearing tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock in Boston. Really, what will be the subject of that hearing also is the fate of New Jersey Devil coach Jim Schoenfeld, and we'll update that entire situation for you in our first intermission tonight. Also, lost in all the publicity about the officials' walkout was the Devils winning a playoff game at home last night. First time that they've done that after losing 3 straight. Meanwhile, for our game tonight, the Edmonton Oilers will be missing this man, defenseman Charlie Huddy. He underwent emergency surgery last night to stop internal bleeding in his left thigh. He's expected to miss the rest of this series and maybe the rest of the playoffs. And Edmonton's Marty McSorley will return to the ice tonight, ironically after serving a 3-game suspension for spearing Calgary's Mike Bullard in Game 3 of the Edmonton-Calgary Smythe Division Finals. Up next, though, it's Game 4, the Campbell Conference Finals, Game 4 between the Edmonton Oilers and the Detroit Red Wings. The Oilers lead the series 2-1, and the road to the Cup continues in a moment.
Round of lights here.
If you want the one light that outshines them all, ask for Bud Light.
Let me know when you're ready for another round.
While other airlines have prohibited smoking on flights under 2 hours, only Northwest has eliminated smoking on all flights throughout North America.
Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Northwest, Northwest, North.
We go above and beyond just like you, above and beyond what we have to do.
I'm a Prudential representative. When I talk to people about CDs and mutual funds, they're surprised at the wide range of investment opportunities I can offer.
You work hard, so do we, to make what you've worked for a reality. The Rock, the Prudential, above and beyond.
Serious seniors challenge Chichi Rodriguez as he defends his title and course record at the United Hospitals Classic, beginning Friday live on ESPN.
If you own a...
Silverman's Drugstore in New Kensington does more than just fill prescriptions. Silverman's Cartier staff can help you choose from a full line of cosmetics from their gift section. As an added bonus, gift wrapping is free. Silverman's also features home health care products like blood pressure kits and glucose monitors, and they'll train you how to use them. As a member of Legend Pharmacy, Silverman's Drugstore offers you low prices every day. Most prescriptions are filled in less than 10 minutes. Silverman's Drugstore, New Kensington.
Drive with confidence on B.F. Goodrich XLMHT steel radials from Tire Corral, designed for all seasons to deliver excellent traction in rain or snow. You can rely on the XLMHT steel radial from Tire Corral for a smooth, quiet ride, dependable year-round performance, and long mileage too. Go with names you can trust. Tire Corral and B.F. Goodrich. The XLMHT radial is now sale priced at Tire Corral locations in Lower Borough, Daytona Heights, Leechburg, North Apollo, and Ford City.
The Road to the Cup on ESPN. Tonight, coming to you from Detroit, Michigan, is being brought to you by the crisp, clean, imported taste of Labatt's Blue. It's Blue Heaven. By Toyota and the 4x4 trucks that give you power, performance, and style. And by Diet Coke. Enjoy Diet Coke. You're going to drink it just for the taste of it. As you can see there, fans of the Red Wings will take any mode of transportation they can to get into Joe Louis Arena tonight. That's how big this hockey game is, Game 4 of the Campbell Conference Finals. Kerry Fraser is the assigned referee tonight at Joe Louis Arena. Yes, he will work the game, but 24 hours ago, whether or not Kerry Fraser would work this game was up in the air because Dave Newell, who was assigned to New Jersey last night along with his linesman, well, they decided not to work the game because of the flap surrounding Devil coach Jim Schoenfeld and his suspension, or no suspension, if you will. We spoke with Kerry Fraser earlier today, and Kerry Fraser, as predicted, he came behind the officials all the way.
We support Dave Newell and any member of our association unanimously. There was a polling of the fellows last night by phone, and it was a unanimous support of Dave, Ray Scampanello, Gord Brusker, and, of course, Dennis Morrell, the backup.
Now, Jim Beattie is the official counsel for the NHL's Officials Association. By the way, their contract with the NHL as a league winds up at the end of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and Jim Beattie issued a statement earlier today in Toronto regarding the happenings last night at Brendan Byrne Arena in New Jersey.
It's our feeling that out of this, there's an opportunity for it to be resolved without good guys, bad guys, but rather in the context that hockey's got a challenge to face, which I think we're better collectively, management, owners, officials, league, to face after what has occurred than we were before. Time will tell, I guess.
As Jim Beattie, the official counsel for the NHL's Official Association. And so let's remind you once again that between tonight's first and second periods, I'll be by and recount everything that happened yesterday in chronological order to get you up to date as we approach tomorrow, where we'll have a hearing in Boston at 2 o'clock Eastern Time to find out then what might happen to Devils coach Jim Schoenfeld. But first things first, Game 4, Campbell Conference Finals. Let's go and see some hockey with Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
Thank you, Tom. It is with a great deal of relief we tell you that the referee for tonight's game is Kerry Fraser. The linesmen are Kevin Collins and Leon Stickle. 42 years of experience. The backup Don Koharski and the off-ice officials from Toronto. And at either end of Joe Louis Arena, the goaltender's Grant Fuhr, his 30th straight playoff start, and at the opposite end, the man who performed so well, coming on in relief in Game 2 and in all of Game 3, Glenn Hanlon.
And I think Hanlon will have to play exactly the same as he did in Game 3. No mistakes. The Oilers will come at him with more firepower. They're going to try and develop an attack as this game goes by that throws more pucks at Glenn Hanlon. We'll see if they can do it.
Tim Higgins is hit by Muni. Puck is chopped on by Norwood, and we get an offside call. Just 26 seconds gone here in the first period of play. We mentioned Grant Fuhr. His record in the playoffs is 10-2. And some tremendous games of making big 10-bell saves at times when the score was close, enabled the Oilers to go on and win big.
See that average 2.97 as well. There was a time when Grant Fuhr used to have a 4-point-something and still be a winning goalie. That tells you how the Oilers have changed. Glenn Hanlon, his average right at 3, and his record 4-2.
Looks like a happy guy, and he is.
He is a happy guy until he gets out on the ice, and then look out. We saw what he can do with the stick when he gets wound up.
Now, the first change in shifts has brought out Mel Bridgman to work with Harold Sneps, and on the opposite wing is Jim Nill, and they've called themselves the Cocoon Line from the movie of that title. Bridgman 33, Sneps 33, and Nill age 30. Nill in to take the draw with McTavish. Randy Gregg connects back over with Smith. Play made to Courtnall, and he's hit by Nill. Off Nill, it goes in for Randy Gregg. And Nill steps into him. Harold Sneps gets the puck and feeds back to Sharples. Wrist shot by Sharples was steered away by Grant Fuhr. Sharples pinches, gets a piece of the man clearing it out, Lacombe, and will get a stoppage of play. And a penalty coming up. It's an elbowing call. Detroit to be boxed. Edmonton to get the power play 50 seconds into Game 4.
Labatt's blue.
Evening is nigh.
Blue heaven.
I hurry to my
Smooth.
Clean. Crisp.
Labatt's blue.
a turn to the right.
Imported beer from Canada.
Will lead you to my
Labatt's blue. Yeah.
Sharples boxed for elbowing at the 52nd mark of this opening period of play. Edmonton's power play, boy, when you go 33 in the third percent, you're tremendous. They are 6 for 18 so far in this series.
Yeah, they're clicking very well. They've designed some entries into the Detroit box that have proven very effective for them. And once again tonight, it has to be important for Detroit not to fall behind early, or at least too far behind early.
Wayne Gretzky carries. This one slowed by Hanlon. Flung away, and around it's taken by Shabbat, who clears. Now, do you think Gretzky will feel the boards much when his team has the man advantages here, or will the body checking on him be later when they're at even strength?
Oh, it will be at even strength. There's no way that he's hard enough to hit even at even strength, but when you're down a man, you have to concentrate on keeping the puck out of your net before you go around trying to hit a guy.
Gretzky gets it on to Curry. Back to Gretzky. Deals it off to Messier. Couldn't get it to Curry because of Zombo. Feeds one over for Smith. It's lost in skates, but recovered by Steve Smith. Back to Tikkanen. Smith was hit by Shabbat. It's turned to Messier, then across to Curry. Slams one. It's blocked away by Zombo. Wayne Gretzky looks for Messier. Curls himself. Stopped by the pad of Hanlon. Loose puck fed away by Barr. And Dave Barr will send it down and then take a whale of a hit from Steve Smith. 45 seconds to go on the minor penalty to Sharples. 17:50 left in the first period. We have no score. Shots even at just one apiece. On now is Tikkanen to blast around. Hanlon slowed. Pivoting to play this is Ashton. Chopped it butt to Simpson. Simpson right back onto Gretzky. Tried to return to Simpson, and ahead comes Ashton. Has Yzerman alongside. They nearly collide as they crisscross. Ashton watched by Lowe. Just drops it in deep, and so Craig Simpson will have to go back. Simpson probably with Courtnall that Bill mentioned at the top of the show. Two marked men as far as Detroit hitters are concerned tonight. Offside called against Edmonton. I would imagine because he checked Wayne Gretzky in the last game and hit him pretty hard, Bob Probert might be a marked man for Detroit, but it's easy to get angry at him and hard to enforce it.
Well, you know, the Oilers this whole series have tried to engage Bob Probert, and they haven't been able to. Here's the replay. Look at Gretzky using the net to his advantage behind. Mike O'Connell really has trouble getting to him. Now he makes the decision to go to Messier. That's what allows Gretzky to move around out in front. So when you use that net as a screen, and nobody in hockey does it better than Wayne Gretzky, you can see the problem that it created for Mike O'Connell.
That is an overall playoff percentage that you're seeing there. We mentioned that the Oilers are 6 for 18 in this series. They have 8 seconds to go on the opening power play of this game tonight. And it is given up to Ashton. This will take care of it. Zombo back. Out of the box comes Sharples. Barr feeds on to Ashton. They've got a 2-on-1 drive by Ashton. Is turned aside by Fuhr. Brad Ashton has had the hot hand with 3 goals in the last 2 games and went for number 4 just then. Zombo with a pass connects with Oates. Shovels it to Ashton. Return for Oates is knocked away and brought back up by Glenn Anderson. Punched from him by O'Connell. Marty McSorley, first game back from the suspension for spearing. This one is handled by Hanlon. In traffic, and then he's hit by Anderson after he lofted that one away. And the fans here buzzing on that one. Now Anderson goes in and cross-checks Zombo from behind. Loose puck tipped right back along. It is poked by Oates, but gathered in by Krushelnyski. Krushelnyski wheels around for Anderson. Short side shot knocked away by Hanlon. Puck comes back for Smith. Drive that went wide. Rebound is dug out by O'Connell, but two Oilers go right after him. The power play is ended, but the pressure is still Edmonton. Around it comes to Zombo. Looks for Barr. Plays across to Adam Oates. Oates moving on McSorley, but loses to him. Ahead with this comes Courtnall. But they rule a two-line offside pass. 15:56 to go in the first period. No score.
If you could have
a truck that'll make you wonder how you ever got along without it. Toyota Standard Bed. The one that sets the standard for compact trucks with the biggest standard payload in its class. And the solid value that makes Toyota #1 in import truck sales. Don't compromise. Don't settle for less than Toyota quality. Now who's looking out for #1?
Toyota.
Toyota, who could ask for anything more?
Well, needless to say, Jacques Demers had his comments on the situation concerning the officials. He just doesn't want to have this game tainted tonight with officials not being here. So he breathed a sigh of relief before this game started as well. All he wants to do is play hockey, and that's all he wants his Detroit Red Wings to do here.
Puck swirled back down, and Randy Gregg goes to chase. Yzerman moving on him, and the pass, instead of being along where Yzerman intended, was brought back up by Smith. Shuffled over from McTavish, and an offside call. Isn't it interesting that the two coaches had differing opinions on what it would be like tonight to work with substitute officials? Glenn Sather said he felt that it would actually help the Red Wings because of the sold-out crowd. Jacques Demers said that the substitute officials would be in awe of Gretzky and the Oilers, so it would help them.
I think the substitute officials would have helped the Red Wings. They could have gone to their clutch and grab style, and that's hard to pick up. You almost have to have X-ray vision to see everybody on the ice doing it. And, of course, you're looking at Steve Yzerman, who had 12 shifts in his first game back 2 nights ago. They totaled 13 minutes and 24 seconds. I asked Demers this morning if he was going to turn Yzerman loose. And he looked at me and said, as long as he performs well and gives me the green light in the early going in this hockey game, his ice time is going to increase lots tonight.
23 years of age today. And the Red Wings locker room was loaded with cakes and flowers and cards. Gallant drive, waffled away by Fuhr. Flicked back along by Krushelnyski, dropped back by Sharples. Oilers control with 15:10 to go in the first period of this game tonight. No score. Big blast by McClellan, turned aside by Hanlon. Gilbert Delorme tries to tap it ahead, but has to get help from Sharples. Shots are Detroit 3, Edmonton 2. Rather inconsequential play thus far. Puck thrown in front by McClellan, but cut off and brought back up by Gallant. Gallant has Yzerman moving to his left, plays to the right. Down on the play goes Delorme. Fans want a penalty. Play continues. Muni pestered by Gallant. Around it rolls to Yzerman. Jammed one toward the front that ricocheted off of Marty McSorley. And then McSorley given a good shove by Gallant. Meanwhile, puck played along by Probert. They muscle it along rugby style. Probert locked up with Muni. Pinching is Veet. Swings it right back into the pile, and it skips to Yzerman. Yzerman to the front. Save made by Fuhr, and there'll be a penalty coming up to the Oilers. 14:21 to go in the first. Detroit will get its first power play, no score.
For all those striving to get to the top, this is a reminder of how much fun it is to get to the bottom.
1 calorie, just for the taste of it.
Bottoms up.
Diet Coke.
Also available in caffeine-free, both with 100% NutraSweet.
So we'll get a chance to look at Detroit's power play for the first time tonight. Boy, Steve Yzerman certainly didn't show any ill effects of his 3/4 of a knee, if you will. Since one of those ligaments just isn't attached, he really made that play possible in the corner. Acton off for elbowing. This is Keith Acton's first game in the playoffs.
O'Connell with a drive, and Oates right at the side of Fuhr now takes a jab from Fuhr's stick. It's Ashton trying for Oates, but getting Messier and Gretzky to swing it back down. The Red Wings in this series are 3 for 16 on the power play. But in the last game went 500, 2 for 4. Sharples hammers. It swirls by Fuhr and by Smith. They try to keep the play alive as Adam Oates muscled it along, but then it is swung back down by Smith. We can set the Red Wings for you. Sharples and O'Connell will be the point men. On the right, they have Oates. At center right now, Ashton as they bring it up ice, and Shabbat, the opposite forward. Sharples drops it. Shabbat moves in, but Randy Gregg is there. Gregg hurried it, and it hit off of a gash in the board. Puck knocked right back along by O'Connell. Over to Oates. Oates able to play. Reached for by Smith. Still Smith working on him. Puck comes right back along. They have Ashton in front. Puck to Sharples. Drive! Saved by Fuhr. And boy, did he ever come out to challenge. 50 seconds to go on the power play as Glenn Hanlon slides it along to O'Connell. Short-handedly, the Oilers have McTavish and Messier up front. And in back, it is Kevin Lowe and Muni as Fuhr spins one along, waiting for it. Norwood. Quick shot answered by Fuhr and drilled back down by Messier.
Boy, a sign that the Oilers are so much better defensively than they were years ago. Did you see how the Red Wings had trouble trying to penetrate on this power play? They were forced 3 times to dump it in. That time, Grant Fuhr tracked it down behind the net, dumped it up the boards, and the Oilers got it out of the zone. But they're making it tougher and tougher every year for teams to penetrate their zone. They really have adopted a real strong defensive posture, and it works great out there. Here's a look at Sharple's shot on Grant Fuhr, and you can see how far out Fuhr came to block the rebound. He had one of his own players, I think it was Yari Curry, that was moving in front of him. Just when the shot came, Curry was smart enough to move out of the way so that Curry could see it, or that Fuhr could see it at least.
That's so far in the playoffs, and that is the situation for the Oilers. But of importance in this one is that this is the 17th track for the Red Wings, and they've only scored 3 times. A beautiful play there by Kevin Lowe. You notice that? Along it comes now to Probert. Probert has Yzerman there, tries to work it to him, but it skips to Gallant. Gallant duels with Lowe, and again Kevin Lowe comes up with a good play, turning it on to Messier. Penalty box empty, and the team's back at full strength. This is Keith Acton turning the goal, tucked one off of Hanlon, and Hanlon trapped. And then, with Gretzky right on him, the whistle blown by Kerry Fraser.
It's an interesting play by Hanlon. Did you see how he slowly edged his way around, facing the action instead of having his back to it? I think he might have been afraid that he had a penalty, or somebody, or Fraser would call a penalty on him, because he had a couple of guys to move it to, decided not to. Here's Acton going around the net. Watch him try to jam it in real quickly as he went around. Hanlon made a good play getting his skate against the post. And there is Hanlon. Watch him turn around and face the action. That way, if he's facing the action, Kerry Fraser would be more likely to blow the play down rather than have Hanlon just with his back to the play and get called for delay of game.
See the Edmonton Oilers bench. Norman Lacombe, Keith Acton now sitting. That means a shift change, of course. McSorley is out to work on defense with Jim Weimer. And up front, it will be Yari Curry, Wayne Gretzky, and Esa Tikkanen. This is Weimer's first playoff game as an Edmonton Oiler. He has 9 in his lifetime, all of those during a stint with the New York Rangers. It is McSorley rolling, but the puck jammed back in by Shabbat. So Marty McSorley controls for the Oilers. Just a tick of a clock, under 12 minutes to go in the first period of this game. We have no score. Tom Mees back at our studios alongside yours truly, Mike Emmerich, Bill Clement, from Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. 19,873 on hand for this one. McSorley pinching, sized up by O'Connell, flips one that is highlighted across, and it is played by the Oilers, so no high stick call. They drop it back in. Weimer throws. Into the corner goes Zombo. Zombo able to pivot away. Banks one up the boards for Shabbat. Nicely able to step by McSorley. Cross ice to Higgins. On to Murphy. But in turning, couldn't control. Curry in, locked up with Shabbat. Puck comes back to O'Connell. Pestered by Gretzky. Couldn't penetrate, and the puck taken over by the Oilers. Worked back ahead, and here's Gretzky moving in. Fakes the drive. Looks for Tikkanen. Looks for everyone. In front, Smith. Rolled it, Kopanet. Throwing play. Rebound was sent wide. Smith with the first try. Curry the second. The net dislodged. Stoppage of play. 11:03 to go in the first period. We have no score.
Or a 4x4 that'll shift the balance of power in the truck world. Toyota's all-new V6 4x4, the most advanced V6 engine in any compact truck. Unsurpassed horsepower, more low-down torque than any compact V6 4x4. New V6, now who's looking out for number one?
Toyota.
Boy, what a scoring chance Steve Smith had just before we left you. Walked right in on Glenn Hanlon and decided against shooting. Hanlon was spared the aggravation of having to make a difficult save from a difficult spot. And those are those split-second decisions. When you make them right, everything seems to go well for your team. But when you make the wrong decision, sometimes it can cost you. That time Smith was 10 feet out in front, nobody between him and Hanlon. He decided to pass to Tikkanen, who was beside the net.
This is Oates on the faceoff with McTavish, and it squirts right through to Hanlon, turns it over to Gilbert Delorme. Puck turned over to Barr, then ahead for Oates, but given up to the Oilers. Quickly spun across now to Randy Gregg. Gregg's pass on the money to Lacombe. Cleans it into the catching glove of Hanlon. He has trouble getting it out, so just hang tight there to get the stoppage of play and the faceoff near him.
You know that if he had been able to get it out and have time, he would put it down and shoot it up ice. He really is an offensive-minded goalie. Moves the puck pretty well. Has a real light stick, too. Here comes the rush down the side. This is the pass to Gretzky. Watch what happens when he stops. That throws everybody off. The whole flow gets mixed up. Gretzky ends up going back the other way. Here's Smith. Watch this. Right around Zombo. Tries to pass there to Tikkanen, and Tikkanen just wasn't ready for the pass.
Along with this now is Sharples from the faceoff. Play made through to Ashton. There's a question in the mind, perhaps of some of you who might have just joined us, as to whether these are the regularly scheduled officials tonight. They are. Tom Mees will have a complete explanation of all the eventful transferations of the last 48 hours in the National Hockey League. All that coming up between periods. But it is Oates on now for Detroit. Couldn't get through. Shoved with Gregg, and the puck back to Sharples. And Sharples' shot goes wide. Rebound right back along for the brush back out. Turned right back in by Delorme. 10:05 left in the first period. We have no score in the game as Lacombe turns it back deep, and around to get it is Lee Norwood. Norwood, one of the two nemesis back on defense of Wayne Gretzky, and the other one is out there too, and Delorme, who just took a hit from Messier.
You know, I think Jacques Demers has gotten away a little bit from having Norwood out there against Gretzky. He wants him now out there. Mostly that roars for a hit by Harold Kemp. He wants Norwood out there against Messier.
Good shot by Mel Bridgman, who certainly had the touch in this playoff series. Now Muni hammered by Nell. Puck comes right back along to Bridgman. Wanted to get it to Snep. He's the guy who had hammered Muni earlier. Puck kept alive by Veach. But along it comes to Anderson. Well, they're not playing like they're out of cocoon, are they?
Not a bit. You know, this is a problem for Jacques Demers. If he plays Steve Yzerman more, who is he not going to play? Oates is playing great. He's a centerman. How about Shabbat? Shabbat's had an outstanding playoff. And now this line is coming through for him. Bridgman, Nil, and Snap. He's got 4 units all going great right now.
Here's Norwood. Norwood watched by McSorley. Shoveled one to the side of the net. Digging it out is Big Bob Probert. Probert checked by Weimer. And Weimer drops it back along, but right there ready for it is Zombo. Zombo hit by Keith Acton. Puck goes to Gallant. Tries to force one in front, but it kicks ahead and is rolled past Acton. Zombo back to get it. 8:40 to go, first period. No score in the game. The shots are 6 for Detroit and 3 for the Edmonton Oilers. Probert's pass brought back in by Acton. All alone in front, and the pass misfires. And the first big display of temperament of the night. Steve Acton and Mike Krushelnyski were involved, but of course 24 Bob Probert was on the ice, and he's in the midst of it.
Boy, that was McSorley that just jumped in there. McClellan is out there. I think Steve Yzerman might be in the middle of the pile. Marty McSorley, I think, is in there too. There's Yzerman, right, 19. McSorley is in there. A lot of firepower out there for the Oilers. They're not known as a team that really likes to go and drop the gloves and fight. But when they do, 24, McClellan is usually one of them. 33, McSorley is usually one of them. They're both on the ice.
When you have the two 24s together, you have the two reigning heavyweights for the two teams. McClellan was involved in far more fisticuffs during the regular season than McSorley, and is regarded far more as a man who goes looking for it, as opposed to one who will go coincidentally if challenged.
That is Mike Krushelnyski, the top left of your screen. Now you can see Kerry Fraser talking to him. Trying to figure out who that is. Gerard Gallant is the guy that Krushelnyski had pinned up against the boards. Now, is that any way for a new dad to act? Mike Krushelnyski's son is 4 days old, and here Dad goes already.
Things seem to be calming here. The Oilers do not like Bob Probert, but the citizens of New York didn't like King Kong, but there wasn't a long line of people wanting to get on those little airplanes either, was there? 8:27 left in the first. While they hand out the penalties, we'll bow out for third.
He was a local boy. He was one of ours. That night we were down at John's bar, cheering, drinking Rolling Rock, and Billy was doing beautiful. And then in the 13th round, Lewis strode a right. Oh, it broke your heart. More than 100 pretty girls ever could. Billy Conn was our hero then, and he's still our hero today. Here's to you, Billy.
Compassion. You can't teach it or place too great a value on it. But you could measure it down this very road on the morning of June 23rd. In the actions of Allstate Claims Adjuster Don Mulder, who at 5 a.m. drove 60 miles to a fire site, all just to shorten the distance between a man's loss and a man's recovery. People like Don Mulder, another reason.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Well, there was such a confrontation in the corner. Maybe a lot of you forgot that there was a golden scoring opportunity for the Oilers just prior to the melee in the corner involving Krushelnyski and Acton, and there was a pass by Bobby Probert that was cut right at the blue line, and as a result, the Oilers had a clean cut 2 on 0, and it was only the result of a bad pass that denied them a scoring opportunity. Once again, Glenn Hanlon has been right in the face of a great scoring opportunity by the Oilers, and the Oilers haven't been able to get a trigger on it, and these are scoring opportunities that you've got to capitalize on at this stage of the game. You can't give the Detroit Red Wings any life. They're playing at home.
Absolutely. Got McClellan and Acton in one box, Probert and Zombo in the other. Wayne Gretzky animatedly jawing with Kerry Fraser, and that would give you the indication that the Oilers are not happy with how things turned out. Even should they be even, perhaps Edmonton thought they should have gotten a power play out of this.
Well, Wayne's really going at it down there now with Kevin Collins. He's arguing with Collins about something.
Is Krushelnyski stepping in? Acton is coming off. And Acton goes down the runway, so one litigant has gone, and Doug Llewellyn must be waiting with a mic somewhere. Glenn Sather calmly watching from the bench as Mike O'Connell over to chat with Kerry Fraser. Again, we'll mention that these are the regularly scheduled officials. There will be no more walkouts during this playoff, although I think the spotlight will probably shine a little brighter and with more pressure on the men in stripes now.
You know, the Oilers have tried to draw Bob Probert in to some kind of confrontation all series long. So I asked Demers this morning, how often have you told Probert not to fight? He said 10 times a game. 10 times a game he has to tell Probert to stay calm. I'm not sure that he has to. He does it anyway.
That is really emphasizing discipline, isn't it?
Well, you know, the only way, I talked to Jacques about Probert getting involved and what one situation might be, hypothetically, that could get him to turn Probert loose. I said, what happens if they go after Yzerman? And he said, that is one time where I'm not going to hold Bobby Probert back if they go after Yzerman.
No minors up on the scoreboard, no majors either. We'll get the penalty calls for you in a moment, but nothing to be concerned about in terms of on-ice manpower, as they have apparently canceled, and that's why Gretzky was upset. John Shabbat and Gretzky for the faceoff. Now we have no score in the game. This is game 4, best of 7, Stanley Cup Campbell Conference Final between the Edmonton Oilers, the defending champions of the Stanley Cup, and the Detroit Red Wings. Edmonton won the first 2 games at the Northlands Coliseum, and Detroit took a game Saturday night here. So if Detroit wins tonight, series even, and it becomes a best of 3. Here is Wayne Gretzky laying it off to Curry. There'll be a penalty coming up to Detroit. Gretzky with the man advantage now on because Grant Fuhr has come out for 6 attackers, and the puck finally touched by Detroit, and we get the stoppage of play.
Looks like it's a high sticking call. I didn't see who it was against, but it looks like Tim Higgins is skating over to the penalty box. So it's a high stick to Higgins here. 7:57 to go in the first. There's Bobby Probert sitting in the penalty box beside him. See if we can pick it up here. Looks like it's already happened right in the middle at the top of the screen. It was behind the play.
Okay, Higgins sits, and the Oilers get the second chance of the evening on their power play. They pull back nothing. Curry, left wing with a right-hand shot. Gretzky right now on the right wing with the left shot, and Messier the centerman. The point men will be Steve Smith and Esa Tikkanen. Tikkanen has been off and on the power play unit. Has not been quite so productive as Glenn Sather and John Muckler, the co-coaches, would like. He's back on for this one. Harold Snepps taps it through him. Jari Kurri goes back, turns it over to Steve Smith, who's had one of the better chances of this period that he did not turn into a shot. Ahead now comes Messier. Wrapped up by Harold Snepps. Given a second jolt. Puck swung right back down by Shabbat. Very responsive crowd here at Joe Louis Arena. Even though this is one of the newer facilities, it has character. And that's something that isn't often said of new arenas. This one constructed in 1980. And it's full, and they're standing. 600 strong are paying $22 for standing room tickets tonight. And they arrived early. Snepps fires, and it's scored by Tikkanen.
I'll tell you what, Detroit is doing just as good a job as Edmonton did on denying the Oilers access to their zone. That time the Oilers crossed the line, but Jari Kurri decided to pound it around the back of the net. You got to make sure you rifle it when you know Glenn Hanlon is going to get out there and get it. Hanlon got it. Snepps shot it out of the zone.
Steve Yzerman flips it back. Splendid job thus far by Detroit. 40 seconds to go on Edmonton's power play. We have 6:30 to go in the first period. No score in this contest. And this has been a last 3 minutes that have been without a shot on goal at either end. Anderson checked by Delorme. Swung right down by Delorme, and Bridgman tips it off the stick of Ashton. Tikkanen goes back. Jim Nill, the forechecker for the shorthanded Red Wings. Just 10 seconds to go on Edmonton's power play. It's turned back on to Courtnall. Courtnall wheeling on Norwood. Got away from a trick attempt there, but the play was thrown offside.
Good play by Norwood. He moved up to pinch just when he knew Courtnall would have to make a move time and time again. That throws the guys that are going wide offside, and it worked for Norwood that time. But that's about the 1,000th time he's done that in the last couple of years.
See Jacques Demers at the bench. A statement about the officials. We can't get along without them. Not for one game, not for 10. We got to have them. At the same time, he was quite complimentary to Paul McGinnis and the crew that worked last night's game at New Jersey. Interesting, too, that New Jersey is the only arena where all of the off-ice officials are on-ice officials who have a schedule of games to work during the regular season. There's one knockdown, fed away by Snepps, and turned back further. McSorley will go back to get it. So had last night's event maybe occurred in a different NHL city, especially a city in the U.S., there could have been a much longer delay than we saw. This one is dribbled along to Marty McSorley. Turned back now to Lacombe. 19 seconds of attack zone time and no shots. Tremendous job by Detroit. Courtnall chops. Harold Snepps to get it. Snepps right now is back on defense. He's been mostly a winger in the playoffs this year. And Sneps took that one from Hanlon. Able to flip it along, but too far for O'Connell. Good shoulder check there between Barr and also Jim Weimer. On with this one is O'Connell. Tried to connect with Ashton, but instead got McSorley. Craig McTavish got away from one sweep check, then a second, then a hook attempt by Oates. All over him, and McTavish turns it loose for Norwood. The Oilers were in the midst of a shift change. Play made ahead to Gallant. Can't step by Steve Smith on defense. Fed back over to Anderson with 4:45 to go in the first period of play. This is Mark Messier. Gets by Beach. Tries to get by Norwood. Just tries to bully his way in. They score! There was a penalty to be called. It was going to be on Detroit, and the goal counts. The Moose has done it for Edmonton.
Boy, didn't he? And Jacques Demers knows the difference between Messier and Gretzky. He said Gretzky is deceptive. You never know what he's going to do. Messier tells you what he's going to do and then challenges you to stop. Look at the head of steam he gets here. He takes one step around Beach, another one around Norwood, and he's just bullying his way all the way to Hanlon. But it's not Messier who scores the goal. It looks like Craig Simpson waited till the whole pile moved out of the way and just jammed it up into the top of the net. But look at Messier. That's just strength and speed that gets him by those two defensemen. Hanlon goes down and makes a good play, but he gets pushed back by Messier, and Simpson was cool about it. Wait till the pile disappears and jam it home.
So Detroit starts in a one-goal hole. Puck jammed by Esa Tikkanen, and going back to get it is Norwood. 4 minutes, 25 seconds to go in this opening period. Not very quiet right now. Puck dropped along for Tikkanen, wrapped up though by Norwood. Norwood intercedes, able to fling it along. Gretzky wants to take. Dribbles it along for Tikkanen, wrapped up by Norwood, and help comes from Darren Beach. They've looked for some big things from Beach. Still waiting are the Red Wings. Puck turned by Curry. Over for Tikkanen to Gretzky. Oh, and what a marvelous save made by the stick of Glenn Hanlon. Smith has trouble. Jams one that flicked off Gallant and into the glove of Hanlon, who hangs on. 3:56 to go in the first period. Simpson with the only goal. Edmonton leading 1-0.
If you could ask for a rugged, reliable partner that'll take on heavy-duty responsibility, Toyota one-ton truck. No compact or even mid-sized truck hauls a payload like this. And when you ask for pulling power, one ton gives you 2.5 tons. Don't compromise. Don't settle for less than Toyota quality. Now who's looking out for number one? Toyota. Toyota could ask for anything more.
There's Craig Simpson. He has had to change his style a little bit since coming to Edmonton. He plays on the wing now, and he, like all young hockey stars, carried the puck when he was growing up. They always counted on him to lug the mail. Well, you know how much Mark Messier wants to carry the puck, so Craig Simpson has had to adjust to playing without the puck a lot more. But I'll tell you what, skating into situations like that and getting Messier's leftovers certain times have to be a bonus.
Absolutely right. This will be an illegal pass should Shabbat have gotten to it, but that canceled by Grant Fuhr's action. Then McTavish hit hard by Tim Higgins. Puck ahead, though, to Simpson. Stripped of it from behind by Murphy. Puts it on the stick of Shabbat. Big drive is off the glove of Fuhr and then the glass. Courtnall tied up by Higgins. Collision between Delorme and Lacombe. McTavish can't get by Murphy, and it's swung right back out again by Sharples. Kevin Lowe takes over. Simpson's goal, his 8th of the playoffs and 3rd of this series. And that has given the Oilers a 1-0 lead. Shots right now, if you're curious. Detroit with 7 and the Oilers with 5. Conservatively played, not end-to-end, and that's pretty much what Detroit has wanted. Mel Bridgman trying to step away. Can't do it. Right back pivot. Simpson wiped out before Delorme got to him. Good wrist shot by Messier off the mark. Turning with this is Marty McSorley, and McSorley sends one into the seats. 2:52 to go in the first period. The score of the game, the Oilers 1 and the Red Wings 0.
When whippoorwills call,
Blue. Blue heaven.
I heard tonight. Blue heaven.
Labatt's blue.
A turn to the right will lead you to mine.
Imported beer from Canada.
The vital statistics you see. Those of you just joining us may not know that Edmonton leads in the series the best of 7, 2 games to 1. Glenn Anderson turns it right back in on his goaltender, Grant Fuhr, who hands over to Jim Weimer. Weimer played a dozen regular season games with Edmonton, spent most of the year with their American Hockey League farm team in Halifax, Nova Scotia, the Nova Scotia Oilers. But with their elimination, has come here at the end of the season and playing in his first Oiler playoff game tonight. This is O'Connell. Slides it ahead for Yzerman, but it's gathered in by Marty McSorley. McSorley tosses. Harold Snepps is there to take it. Snepps, the fan favorite here in Detroit. Pass went too far for Bridgman, chipped right back along by Weimer in the final 2:15 of this first period. Harold Snepps pivots, bounces one ahead for Bridgman, but off his stick taken by Curry and laid right back to Steve Smith. On the turning stick of Tikkanen and then directed back in by Curry. Sped back out to Yzerman. Steve Yzerman turns, shovels one for Bridgman. Bridgman forced off, though, by Gregg. Loose one swept away by Curry. We get a stoppage of play and an interference call coming up on the Oilers. With 1 minute and 52 seconds to go in the first period, Detroit will get its second power play. Gary Fraser, native of Sarnia, Ontario, one-time player in junior hockey, is center and right winger for the Sarnia Bees, has sent the doctor, Randy Gregg, to the penalty box. Interference the call with 1 minute 52 to go in the period.
Edmonton penalty number 21, Randy Gregg, 2 minutes for interference. Time of penalty 18 minutes, 8 seconds. Edmonton's Randy Gregg, 2-minute minor interference.
Now Jacques Demers will use Norwood on one point, and on the opposite side it'll be Mike O'Connell. But the Oilers have it. Check that. It is Darren Veach who is now having to defend Krushelnyski, who rolled it right in on goal. Puck turned aside by Hanlon. Veach has been the man who's had a lot of point shots in this series, but so far has not connected. Veach able to steer it away. Got away from the check by Muni, but the puck played by Lowe, who's hammered by Barr. McTavish flips, connects over with Wayne Gretzky, and Gretzky feathers a little pass along for Craig Muni to just play, momentarily keep away, and then force the Red Wings to chase. 1:12 to go in this first period. Simpson from Messier and Tikkanen, the only goal scored. Oates fires, and cracking into the boards was Grant Fuhr to squash it. Puck flipped right back off Norwood, and again Detroit must go back. Gretzky comes off. Yari Curry stays out and is joined now by Mark Messier. McSorley in back, working along with Steve Smith. Fuhr stops this one with the stick, but this time gave it up to Oates. Adam Oates takes a look. Back for the one-timer by Sharples. Knocked down in front. Oates has got his goal! Feel it shake. When they say a joint is rocking, they must have been thinking of Joe Louis. You can actually put your hands on the table and feel the table shake.
You know, this line with Oates and Ashton made up their mind before the last game to go to the net when they knew a shot was going there. Well, this is a power play shot and a good one by Jeff Sharples. And you can see that the whole slot area is vacated. That was Adam Oates. He was the guy that passed it back to Sharples on the point. You got to give a lot of credit to Sharples on this play for getting a nice low shot right at Grant Fuhr. Hard for him to control. You know, the Oilers covered pretty well. The two guys at the top of their box had to drift out to defend against the point guys that the Red Wings had. And before they could get back into the play, that guy, Adam Oates, had swooped in, found a loose puck, jammed it by Grant Fuhr, and a key goal tying the game with less than a minute to go in the first period.
The old textbook, Bill, says that if you score in the first minute or the last minute of a period, it has far greater importance because it gives the opposition that's yielded that at the end of the period something to think about way between periods and can just that easily handcuff them early in a period. What a hit on Messier by Delorme, and that will be another one to think of. Stoppage of play with 8 seconds to go in the first.
Wow, what a booming hit by Delorme on Messier. Once you get the big moose, as Demers calls him, going in the right direction, you can lift him up and ride him into the boards. That's what Delorme did. There's the one-time shot by Sharples. You can see the crowd in front. Fuhr doesn't know where it is. Well, naturally, he's got Bobby Probert sitting right on him. You know what? Did you see him go for it with the glove anyway? He caught it out of the corner of his eye coming by the pile in front of him. and still made a stab for it with his glove.
2 summers ago, Oates and Stazak and Shahaki and Tim Friday and Sneps and McEwen and Young all signed as free agents. It cost the Red Wings $6 million. In the first year, those 7 collected 41 NHL goals. That's pretty expensive per goal. But if you wait, Jim Devellano said, the general manager, if you wait, some of these guys are going to pan out, and Adam Oates sure has.
What else would he say at that time, though, when you think about it, huh?
Oh, I would too.
Is he going to say, you're right, I give up. What a bad mistake I made. You can't, and then absolutely, you have to wait and hope that some of the free agents pan out. Adam Oates is one of the youngest of the free agents that he signed, and here he is. He's really played well for them in the playoffs.
And Harold Sneps, out of that crew, is still a contributor too, and we've seen him in action tonight. Wayne Gretzky will step in for the faceoff with Shabbat. 8 seconds to go. And Gretzky able to win it. Watched by Shabbat. Gretzky wanted to turn, then fed one in front, off a leg, and out of that maze of players, it has been held for a halt to play as time has run out. Good first period.
You know, the Oilers claim to have found a way to open up the Red Wings. They were going to counterattack, really try and attack the blue line more aggressively. They weren't able to do it at all that period. They had a couple of breaks. They weren't even able to get shots away on Glenn Hamlin.
The Oilers trudge off. They've been tied late in the period. It stands at 1.
If you're thinking of replacing your cabinets and countertops or having your present cabinets refinished, then talk to the pros at Kenton Kitchen Center. Their newly remodeled showroom features a large selection of custom and Marilat cabinetry, countertops and plumbing fixtures by major brand names. Come and see the dome ceiling, the latest in kitchen lighting and decor. Kenton Kitchen Center, 100 Craigdale Road, Lower Burrell. Phone 335-9470 for your free estimate.
The ship store is open at Wind and Water Boat Works, Western Pennsylvania's largest outfitter for sailing, rowing, and paddling. Come aboard and check out the large selection of sailboats from 6 major manufacturers. Browse through racks of canoes, kayaks, and recreational rowing shells. And don't forget the popular and exciting sailboards. Wind and Water also carries foul weather gear, sailing clothes, accessories, and hardware. Wind and Water Boat Works, Route 8, 6 miles south of Butler and 11 miles north of the Turnpike.